Go.
Hi, my name is Bill Porter. I'm the CDL instructor for the Drive Rite Driving School, and I'm making this video to help my students get through the pre-trip inspection. Now, the way I do the pre-trip inspection is basically part 1 is the in-cab, part 2 is the engine, part 3 are going to be the axles, part 4 is going to be the outside of the truck, and then part 5 will be the light check. Now, the pre-trip will start outside the vehicle where the examiner will give you the instructions and tell you to begin. And like I say, I would come inside and start here. But before I come inside, I want to make sure the examiner knows that the wheels are chocked, there's no obstructions around the truck's not leaning, and I'm also looking underneath for any major leaks or puddles. Okay, once inside, I want to go over a couple things. I want to make sure he knows that anytime I start the truck, I'll do what's called a safe start, which is where you're going to push the clutch in and then start the engine. Now, when you turn the key on, you'll notice a lot of dash lights come on. One of them is your ABS light, and it should come on and cancel before you do anything else. And that'll get you a point by telling them you check your ABS light. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do in here is an air brake check. It's 7 steps. Step 1 is to tell the examiner I'm going to start the engine, make sure the compressor builds up to about 120 and cuts off. Now, once you start the engine, you want to idle the motor at about 10. Okay? Now, while I'm waiting for step 1 of the air brake check to finish, there's a couple things I want to check. One being my volt gauge. And I'm going to tell the examiner I checked the volt gauge, shows that the system is charging. Then over here, I'm going to check my water temperature gauge is in the safe range, under 200. I'm going to check that the oil pressure is in the proper range, at least 20 at idle. Okay. I also want to make sure I check my indicator lights. I've already checked the ABS indicator. Now I'm going to check the left indicator, then the right, then the 4-ways, and then the high beams. So you turn on the headlight and you grab it and the high beam. Okay. Now, step 1 of the air brake check is over. The compressor built up to 120 and shut off. So I'm going to do step 2. Step 2 is to turn the key off. Turn the engine off, but to leave the key on. Now it's going to take a few seconds for the thing to calibrate, so don't start moving too fast. Step 3 is to push in the red valve, which is the trailer brake, and the yellow valve, which is the parking brake. And you don't have to worry about the truck rolling because, like I say, you've already told them the wheels are chocked. Okay. Now, step 4, I want to squeeze the service brake for a minute, making sure I don't lose more than 4 pounds after the initial air drop. And you got to make sure you time it for a minute. If you forget to bring your watch, just simply ask the examiner to time it for you, and usually they will. Okay? So, we're going to say it's been a minute, and we're going to tell the examiner we haven't lost more than 4 pounds of air. So now I want to do step 5. I want to fan the brake pedal to get the low air warning, the air to drop to 60 to make sure the low air warning comes on. And it does. And then step 6, continue to fan the brake to 20 to make sure the red and the yellow valves pop out. Now, these two valves should pop out together, somewhere around 20. But if one pops out and the other don't, make sure you keep feeding it. Okay, so that's step 6. And now step 7 is to simply tell the examiner you're going to restart the engine and make sure it builds up to 120 again and cuts out. Now remember your safe start. Clutch in, make sure you're in neutral, and then start her up. Okay. So there's a few more things in here that we need to talk about. We need to talk about the seatbelt. We need to tell them that the seatbelt's not worn, torn, or frayed. We need to show them that the seatbelt locks and releases properly. You need to tell them that you have spare fuses, you have 3 reflectorized triangles, and you got a fully charged, properly rated fire extinguisher. You have to show them that your heater and your defroster works properly. So check the defroster. You got to put your hand up here and feel. And then your heater. Okay. Now I'm going to check my wipers. I want to check the wiper arms and blades are secure. There's no damage. I want to make sure that I check that the wiper is not worn and it has good tension on the windshield. And naturally, I also want to make sure that it works properly. I also want to check that the washer works properly. Then I'm going to check my windshield. I need to tell the examiner the windshield is free of obstructions. There's no damage to the glass. There's no illegal stickers. And the windshield is clean. I need to mention to the examiner that I'm checking my mirrors are properly adjusted. I need to show them that my horns work, the city horn and the air horn. Okay? And now I'm down to the nitty-gritty where I need to check that my brakes work. Now there's 3 brakes in here that need to be checked. The trailer brake, the parking brake, and the service brake, which is just a fancy name for your brake pedal. Okay? Now, the way you check the parking brake is you push in the red and leave the yellow out. Put it in 4th gear, put a little pull on it. Do not try to stall the engine. Just put a little drag. It's called a tug. And it holds. So then I put it back in neutral. And I tell them, okay, now I want to check the trailer brake. To check the trailer brake, I pull out the red, push in the yellow. Again, I put it in 4th gear and give it a little tug. And it holds. I go back to neutral, pull out the yellow valve, and the last thing I'm checking inside is my service brake. And I don't actually have to do this. See, some things inside here you actually have to do, like the wipers and the heater, the horns and all. But some things you just say, like the windshield and the mirrors and the, you know. So we're just going to tell them about checking the service brake. So you explain that to check the service brake works properly, you push in the red and the yellow valve, you put it in gear, and you move forward at about 5 miles an hour, hitting the service brake, making sure the vehicle stops properly without pulling. Okay? So now I'm pretty confident that that's about everything we can do inside. My wife here is doing a video taping, and she used to be a certified MBA examiner, so I'm going to see what she thinks if I'm ready to move on to part 2, which would be my engine check. And she's giving me the heads up, so we're going to take a pause here, and I'll meet you outside in a second. Just tell me to move. I mean, Okay, we're here on the outside. We're going to do part 2, the engine compartment. What you would do is just simply release the straps. I already did the one on the driver's side, but you just pull it up and then remove it, and then go around to the front, pull on the hood. Now, my wife brought up a good point. They're going to want you to take your keys out when you leave the vehicle. They're not going to want to see you leave the vehicle with the keys in or the engine running. Okay, so just a couple things over here. First of all, you want to mention that this engine has a serpentine belt that runs the alternator, the water pump, the fan, and also the air conditioner. Okay, you want to tell them that the serpentine belt is snug, no more than 3/4 inch slack. It's not cracked, worn, or frayed. You also want to make sure you get an overall view of the engine compartment, making sure that none of the hoses are leaking and there's no wires hanging. Also, again, checking underneath the engine to make sure there's nothing, fluids are dripping from underneath the engine. Okay, so here we go. We're going to check our radiator. It is securely mounted. There's no missing nuts and bolts. Not bent, cracked, broken, or worn. And naturally, it's not leaking. Anything that holds fluid or air can't leak. Then we check our radiator reservoir. Mounted securely. No missing nuts and bolts. Not bent, cracked, broken, or worn. Not leaking. Going to check the fluid level in the reservoir. There's really no sight glass, so with the engine cool, I would remove the cap and actually look inside to make sure the level's at the safe range. Okay, then I'm going to come down and check the water pump. Now the water pump's going to be hard to see. It's way down in here, and make sure you tell them the water pump is also belt driven. Make sure it's mounted securely, no missing nuts and bolts. It's not bent, cracked, broken, or worn. Naturally, it's not leaking. All the hoses are secure, not worn, not leaking. Come up to the alternator. Again, this is also belt driven. The alternator secure, no missing nuts and bolts, not bent, cracked, broken, or worn. Make sure all the wiring is snug. It's not worn. There's no bare wires exposed. Okay. Excuse me?
Secure.
And my wife said I make sure they tell them it's secure. Okay. And they're pretty technical about the wording, so we want to try to use the proper wording. Okay. So the last thing I'm going to check on this side is my exhaust system. So I'm going to come back and I'm checking my exhaust system. First, I want to make sure the exhaust system is secure. There's no missing clamps or hangers. I want to make sure there's no major damage to the system, no holes or dents or cracks. But the big thing is to tell the examiner you're looking for exhaust leaks by checking for carbon deposit or soot. So we're in pretty good shape here. So now I'm going to walk around to the driver's side where there's some more items that need to be checked. Okay, over on the driver's side there's a few more things, and again my wife just reminded me that the examiners expect to hear the word secure, not snug. So that's something you want to remember. Okay, on the driver's side we're going to start by checking our air compressor pump, which is gear driven. It is secure. There's no missing nuts and bolts. It's not bent, cracked, broken, or worn. It's not leaking. All the air lines are secure, not worn, not leaking. Underneath, behind, and it's really hard to see this, but behind the air compressor is the power steering pump, which is also gear driven. It is secure, no missing nuts and bolts, not bent, cracked, broken, or worn, not leaking. Check the lines coming from the power steering pump, going into the reservoir, secure, no missing clamps, not worn, not leaking. Check the power steering reservoir, secure, no missing nuts and bolts, not bent, cracked, broken, or worn, not leaking. I'm going to check the fluid level by removing the little dipstick, wiping it clean, put it back in, pull it out a second time, and make sure it's a proper level above the fill mark. And then way back here, hopefully you can see this, is the engine oil dipstick. Tell them you check the engine oil by having the engine off, pull the dipstick out and wipe it clean, put it in, pull it out, and make sure it's above the fill mark. Okay, a couple more things here. We're going to be checking our steering gearbox. Again, it's gear driven. It is secure. No missing nuts and bolts. Not bent, cracked, broken, or worn. Not leaking. Check the steering rod or steering shaft, whatever you want to call it. Steering column. Secure. No missing nuts and bolts. Not bent, cracked, broken, or worn. There's no debris around the shaft. Okay? And then the steering linkage. Now, steering linkage consists of the pitman arm, the drag link, the steering arm, and then way back here in the back is your tie rod and your ball joint. All these parts are secure, no missing nuts and bolts, Carter keys in place as needed, nothing's bent, cracked, broken, or worn. Okay, so now I think we're ready to go on to the third part of the pre-trip, which is the axles. And I'm going to do all three axles, the front, the drive, and the trailer axle. I'm going to start on the outside here. So I want to tell them I'm checking my tire with a tread gauge. I'm going to make sure I got at least 430 seconds of tread. I want to make sure the tread's wearing evenly and I don't have mismatched tires. I want to check using an air pressure gauge. I want to check that I have about 100 to 110 pounds of air in the tire. I also want to make sure that the valve stem is not damaged and it's got a valve cap in place.
No leaks.
Huh?
No leaks.
And it doesn't leak. Also, check the inner and outer sidewall of the tire. It's not cut, cracked, there's no bubbles. Okay, I'm going to check my rim. First of all, the rims, there's no weld repairs, there's no dents or holes. Naturally, the rim's going to be secure. No missing lugs. And the lugs are secure because there's no rust trails or shiny threads. Okie doke. I want to check my hub oil and axle seals are not worn, not leaking. I want to check the fluid level by pulling the plug and looking inside. Okay. A couple more things. Inside the tire, next to the tire, is your braking components. Check your brake hose, secure, not worn, not leaking. Check your brake chamber, secure, no missing nuts and bolts, not bent, cracked, broken, or worn, not leaking. Check your slack adjuster and push rod, secure, no missing nuts and bolts. It's not bent, cracked, broken, or worn, and it's properly adjusted. No more than 1 inch of slack. You check this by making sure the brakes are released, pulling out on the push rod, and it doesn't move more than 1 inch. And then you can't see, but inside the wheel, you have your brake drum and your brake lining. They are secure, no missing nuts and bolts. Not bent, cracked, broken, or worn dangerously thin. No oil or grease on the drum or the linings. Now we're going to talk about our suspension. Check your shock absorber. Secure. No missing nuts and bolts. Not bent, cracked, broken, or worn. Not leaking. Then you're going to talk about your leaf springs. They're secure. You want to make sure there's no missing or broken leaves, and they're properly aligned. Excuse me?
Shifted.
They're not shifted, you're saying. Instead of saying properly aligned, they want to hear shifted. Good thing I have her with me. Then we want to talk about our U-bolts. They're secure, no missing nuts and bolts, not bent, cracked, broken, or worn. And then last but not least, we're talking about the front and the rear spring hangers, spring mounts, secure, no missing nuts and bolts, not bent, cracked, broken, or worn. Now, I know that you can't see everything I'm talking about, so you got to just watch this video, and if anything, we can go over some things that you're not crystal clear on. That's the main thing. Anything you're not crystal clear on, you got to let me know. So, I think we're ready to go on to the second axle. So let me slide one down here. Okay, now you'll notice the second axle has 2 tires. So you're going to tell the examiner you're checking the inner and outer tires using a tread gauge. Make sure you got at least 2 seconds of tread. I'm going to check my air pressure using the air gauge. I'm going to check the inner and outer tire for about 100 pounds of air. Again, I need to check the inner and outer valve stem. It's not damaged, not leaking. It's got a valve cap in place. I'm going to check the inner and outer rim. No weld repairs, not bent, not cracked, not broken. I'm going to check they're secure. The lug nuts are secure. They're all present. And I know they're secure because there's no rust trails or shiny thread. Okay. Again, check your axle seals, your inner and outer oil and axle seals are not worn or leaking. You cannot check the fluid level in the second axle. These are butt rims, so you got to make sure they're evenly spaced and there's no debris, no bottles, rocks, or foreign objects stuck in between the rim. Anything else?
Did you remember the air pressure?
Again, make sure you tell them with an air pressure gauge, making sure you got about 100 pounds of air in the inner and outer tires. Okay, now we're going to be checking our brake components. Now this is going to be easy because I'm going to tell them, check my brake hose just like I did up front. Check my brake chamber just like I did up front. Check my slack adjuster and push rod just like I did up front. Check my brake drums and brake linings just like I did up front. Gonna check the shock absorber just like I did up front. Gonna check my leaf spring just like I did up front. Gonna check my U-bolts just like I did up front. Gonna check the front and rear spring hangers just like I did up front. Now there is one thing back here that isn't on the front axle, and that is an airbag. So I got to go into the detail, tell them check the airbag. It's secure, no missing nuts and bolts, not bent, cracked, broken, or worn. Naturally, it's not leaking. Okie doke. So I think we're ready to move on to the trailer axle. Okay, tell me when to go.
Go.
Okay, now the second axle should be a lot easier than the first axle, because what you have to do is tell them the part and that you check it just like you did on the front axle. Now if there's something different like with the tires, then you have to explain that to them. So let's get started here. Again, remember you're checking the frame and there's no damage, no major holes, no weld repair. Come down to your shock absorber Check the shock absorber just like I did up front. Check my leaf springs just like I did up front. Check my U-bolts just like I did up front. Check the front and the rear spring hangers just like I did up front. Now the second axle has something that the front axle didn't have, and that's airbags. So I'm going to check my airbags are securely mounted, no missing nuts and bolts, not bent, cracked, broken, or worn. Naturally, they're not leaking. Okay, then I'm going to come in. I want to check my brake hose, just like I did up front. I want to check my brake chamber, just like I did up front. I want to check the slack adjuster and the push rod, just like I did up front. I want to check the brake drums and the brake shoes, just like I did up front. I want to check the inner and the outer oil seals, just like I did up front.
Is that an axle seal?
Now, here, the hubcap, secure, no missing nuts and bolts, not bent, cracked, broken, or worn, not leaking. You can't say like you did up front because it's different. Also, your rims. Now these are Bud rims. Bud rims, so you got to make sure that they're mounted securely, they're evenly spaced, and there's no debris stuck in between the rims. Okay? But make sure you tell them they're Bud rims. You also want to make sure you tell them, using an air gauge, going to make sure you got about 100 pounds of air.
Check both stems.
What's that?
They don't want to hear you want to check both valve stems.
Oh, okay, my wife's saying you got to mention checking the inner and outer valve stems, making sure you got about 100 pounds of air. Make sure the valve stem's not damaged or leaking. Valve cap in place. Check the lug nuts. First, they're all present and they're snug, which means there's no rust trails or shiny threads. Then the back tires. Back tires, again, using a tread gauge. Make sure you got at least 230 seconds of tread. It's okay to have recaps. Make sure the tread's wearing evenly. You don't have mismatched tires. My wife said I forgot to mention the rims. Check the rims. Not bent, cracked, broken, not worn, no weld repair. So, that should be the second axle. Like I say, that was a lot easier than the front axle because a lot of the stuff was just like you did up front. And just remember that.
Love that.
If anything, it's exactly the same as up front, like the shock, the leaf springs, the U-bolts, the spring hangers. You don't have to go into that detail. And that's going to hold true on the third axle when we get back to that. Okay, I'm going to take a break here and get my thoughts together. So I'll be with you in a couple seconds. Okay, so here we are back at the trailer axle. Again, I'm going to mention that I got two tires back here. I'm going to use the tread gauge, make sure the inner and the outer tires have at least 230 seconds of tread. I'm going to make sure that the tires are wearing evenly. No mismatched tires. I'm going to check my inner and outer rims. Just like I did up front. Going to using the air pressure gauge. I'm going to make sure I got at least 100 pounds of air. Going to make sure that the valve stems are not damaged or leaking. Got a valve cap in place.
And you have two.
Again, the inner and outer. Going to check my hub oil and the axle seals. Not worn, not leaking, just like I did up front. I'm going to check the hub fluid level by removing the plug and looking inside.
Did you get the lugs?
Checking my lug nuts, just like I did up front. Make sure there's none missing. In the back again, nice and easy. And you don't even have to go back in there. But mention that you check your, just remember the parts. What are you saying?
In between your tires.
Checking in between the tires. No debris, no bottles or rocks. Evenly spaced. Checking my brake hose, just like I did on the front axle. Checking my brake chamber, just like I did on the front axle. Checking the slack adjuster and push rod, like I did on the front axle. Checking the brake drum and brake linings, like I did on the front axle. There's no shock back here. There's no airbag, but there is a torsion bar. So I need to tell them the torsion bar is secure, no missing nuts and bolts. It's not bent, cracked, broken, or worn. And there is, check your leaf springs like you did up front. I'm going to check the U-bolts like I did up front. Check the front and rear spring hanger or spring mounts like I did up front. Okay, so far we've done the engine compartment. We did inside. We did the 3 axles. So we're only got 2 things left to do, and that's the outside of the vehicle and the light check. So we're gonna take a break. Okay, we're back. Gonna wrap this pre-trip up, and right now we're gonna be on part number 4, which is the outside of the tractor trailer. We're gonna start by talking about the coupling device. We should be able to get at least 6 or 7 points here if we do it properly. Okay, the first thing you want to tell the examiner is you're checking your platform. Your 5th wheel platform is secure, no missing nuts and bolts. All mounting bolts and locking pins are present and in place. It's not bent, cracked, broken, or worn. Then we're going to go to our 5th wheel apron. Excuse me, not the apron, but the 5th wheel skid plate. 5th wheel skid plate, again, is securely mounted to the platform. All mounting bolts are present. The locking bolts and pins are present and securely in place. The skid plate is properly greased, and again, it's securely mounted. We want to talk about the trailer apron. That's this big plate. It is securely mounted. It is not bent, cracked, broken, or worn. We want to talk about the kingpin. Of course, you can't even see the kingpin, but you mentioned that the kingpin is mounted securely. It's not bent, cracked, broken, or worn. You want to also tell them that you're checking that the kingpin is all the way up in the skid plate and that the locking jaws are completely around the kingpin. And make sure that, again, I don't know if I said it, but there's no gap between the skid plate and the apron. And then last but not least, you check your release arm and your safety latch is fully engaged. Okay, then we're going to talk about the trailer framing. Make sure you tell them it's no cracks, no holes, no weld repair. Then we're going to talk about our catwalk. That's what this is called, the catwalk. Again, it's free of obstructions. It's secure, no missing nuts and bolts. Not bent, cracked, broken, or worn. I want to point down and talk about your drive shaft and your universal joints. Again, if you can't see this, what we're going to have to do is go over it one day at a lesson. Tell them the drive shaft and the universal joints are secure. There's no missing nuts and bolts. They're not bent, cracked, broken, or worn. And there's no debris. Okay? We're going to come up. We're going to talk about the front of the trailer. Most people call this the header board. Inspecting the header board or front of the trailer. No major cracks. No major damage. No holes. Okay? Then we're going to talk about our air lines and our electrical lines. First, we got to mention that the electrical line is securely locked in place at the trailer and also at the tractor. The air line is not worn. There's no bare wires exposed. come up. I'm sorry, electrical line. I think I might have said the airline, but this is the electrical line. The air lines are the blue and the red. You want to tell them they're securely connected at both ends on the tractor and the trailer. They're not worn, they're not leaking. Make sure the air lines are not crimped, cut, chafed. Then we want to mention that our glad hands, first we would tell them we check the rubber grommet in the glad hand is not worn. Make sure the glad hand is securely locked in place and it's not leaking. Okay, from there we're going to go down and talk about our fuel tank. First I would tell them I check my fuel tank cap. I check the rubber gasket's not worn. Make sure the cap's secure, not leaking. Make sure the fuel tank is mounted securely. No missing nuts and bolts. Not bent, cracked, broken, or worn. Make sure you tell me check all your fuel lines are secure, not worn, not leaking. Okay? Talk about your steps. Steps are secure. No missing nuts and bolts. Not bent, cracked, broken, or worn. Talk about your handrail. Secure. No missing nuts and bolts. Not bent, cracked, broken, or worn. I want to talk about, I think I might have missed it. Well, never mind. Forget that. Let's get that later. I want to come up and I want to talk about my door. First, I want to tell them that the door opens and closes from the outside. I want to talk about the door seal is firmly intact. It's not worn, fully intact, not worn. Talk about the hinges. Secure, no missing nuts and bolts. Not bent, cracked, broken, or worn. Okay. Again, the door opens and closes properly. And this is the only thing you actually have to do is open this door. You don't have to actually do anything else. The whole outside is basically talk. I want to tell them I'm checking my mirrors and my brackets. Secure. No missing nuts and bolts. Not bent, cracked, broken, or worn. We already told them that the mirrors were properly adjusted. The glass was clean, not cracked. Coming down.
Check all your mirrors the same.
All the, okay, my wife is saying, like I said, she knows a lot more than me. Make sure you check all your mirrors in the same manner. On the fender mirrors, and your side view mirrors. Okay, give me a second. I want to make sure I don't miss nothing. Talked about the framing, the cross members, drive shaft and universal joints, the air lines, electrical lines, front of the trailer. Like I say, this is usually called a header board on a flatbed. So, okay. So now I'm coming down here. We've already talked about the second axle, but I want to mention the splash guards and mud flaps. They're secure, no missing nuts and bolts, not bent, cracked, broken, or worn. You might have noticed I went right past the battery box, but now that you no longer have to talk about the battery box, so it's no sense talking about something we don't need. Splash guards, mud flaps, okay? Again, if you want to see the kingpin up in the fifth wheel and the locking jaws completely around it, that would have to be something you would have to have a flashlight and you actually get underneath and check it out. I'm going to mention that you check your trailer framing and cross members. First, there's no broken or missing cross members. There's no weld repair to the frame. It's secure. No missing nuts and bolts. Not bent, cracked, broken, or worn. Check my landing gear. First, I want to make sure that the landing gear operates properly. It raises and lowers. It's securely mounted. No missing nuts and bolts. It's not bent, cracked, broken, or worn. I want to mention that the landing gear is in a fully raised position before leaving. Also, want to make sure that your handle is securely locked in place. Okay, I'm going to check the side of the trailer. Make sure the major damage to the side of the trailer, I want to make sure that it has the proper amount of reflectorized tape. Okay, come on down. I got a side cargo door. So again, I want to talk about it. It's a point. Talk about the door and the hinges mounted securely. No missing nuts and bolts. Not bent, cracked, broken, or worn. Want to check that the door opens and closes properly. It also locks properly. And I would check the rubber seal or gasket is fully intact, not worn. Coming down here towards the back, we're almost done. Like I say, you're going to have to really watch this video because they don't expect you to crawl underneath the truck and get dirty and stuff like that. They do expect you to do the inside. They do expect you to open the door and things like that. But most of this is just talking about. Getting my trailer mud flap secure, no missing nuts and bolts, not bent, cracked, broken, or worn. Come around to the back. Check my trailer door and hinges are secure, no missing nuts and bolts, not bent, cracked, broken, or worn. Want to make sure that the trailer door raises and closes properly, also that it locks properly. And then, really, the last thing back here is my lift gate, which is a point, so we're going to talk about it. Check my lift gate operates properly, it raises and lowers. It's in a fully raised position when secure. It's not bent, cracked, broken, or worn. And it's not leaking because this is a hydraulic lift, so it could leak and that would present a problem. And then really the last thing I want to mention back here in the back is my rear reflectorized tape. Because that'll get you a point. We're trying to get as many possible points as we can to get through this picture. I'm pretty sure we need 68. Okay, so
Reflectors.
okay, now we're going to do the last step of this. We're going to turn on and do the light check. So let's walk up front. We're going to start by checking, excuse me, the headlights and the four-ways. So I'm just going to open my door, turn my headlights on, turn my four-ways on, and go to the front of the truck. Okay, here we go. Checking the headlights. They work properly. The lenses are the proper color. They're clean. They're not cracked or broken. I'm going to check my four-way indicators are working properly, both on the driver's side and the passenger side. They're the proper color amber. They're secure, not cracked or broken. Up top, I'm checking my trailer clearance lights are working properly. They're the proper color amber, and the lenses are not cracked or broken. So that's what we need to know, that the light works properly, it's the proper color, make sure you tell them, and that the lenses are not cracked or broken. I'm going to come down the driver's side here, point out the clearance lights on the trailer are working properly. They are the proper color amber. They are secure, not cracked or broken. My side indicator on my tractor is working properly. Again, the proper color amber. The lens is not cracked or broken. Check my trailer reflector up front, and it is the proper color amber. It's secure. It's not cracked or broken. Okay. In the back of the truck, I want to check my four-way lights are working properly. The lens is the proper color red to the rear, and it's not cracked or broken. My tail lights are also working properly. They're the proper color, red, and the lens is not cracked or broken. Coming on down here, I think I mentioned about the reflectorized tape on the side of the trailer. In the back here, I got a marker light, which is the proper color, red. It works properly. The lens is secure, not cracked or broken. Got a reflector, proper color red. It's not cracked or broken, and it's secure. In the back, up top, I got my clearance lights, proper color red. Why? Because they're at the rear. The lenses are not cracked or broken, and they're securely mounted. Then my four-way lenses, proper color red. They're working properly. The lens is secure, not cracked or broken. Now I'm going to do my tail lights. Again, they're working properly. They're the proper color red to the rear. They're secure, not cracked or broken. Okay, so then what I'm going to do, and we're not going to go all around this, I would do the, actually, I'm sorry, we got to go up the passenger side, because there are lights over here. Passenger side marker light is proper color red. It's working properly. It's not cracked or broken, and it's secure. Reflector, and I'm not sure if we have to do this, but I just want to cover myself. Passenger side reflector is the proper color red. It's secure. It's not cracked or broken. Got a reflector here in the middle. Proper color amber. Secure. Not cracked or broken. We don't have to mention the doors or nothing because we talked about them on the other side. If you want, you can say check the cargo door on the passenger side, just like I did the driver's side, but I don't see a need for that. Up front here in the trailer, again, we got a front reflector of the trailer, the proper color amber, secure, not cracked or broken.
Clearance lights.
Clearance light, again, is working properly. It's the proper color amber. It's secure, and the lens is not cracked or broken. My right indicator is working properly. It's the proper color amber, and it's secure, not cracked or broken. Now, I might be repeating myself a lot, but trust me, I'd rather see you repeat and say a little too much than not say enough and not get the point. Now what I would have to do is come up here and turn off the four ways, turn on the right blinker and the high beam. And then what I would do is go down the passenger side, start in the front, and do the high beams in the front, and then go down the passenger side, checking all the lights and lenses that are lit, and then come back in and turn off the headlights, give a left blinker, go down the driver's side, same. So if you're not sure of this, let me know. And do all the lights on this side, and then when you're in the back, you're talking about the left blinker and all in the rear of the trailer, you're going to say, now the last light I need to check, and I need your help, is my brake lights. And he'll say, okay, well, I'll stay here and I'll watch. And you just come up and hit the pedal, and the brake lights will work. And then he'll say, you're good. At that time, we should be completed the pre-trip. Okay? Now, I'm not sure how much time it took me to do this. It is difficult, trust me, it's really difficult. I thought I had this down to a science, and then when you start talking about it, you your mouth goes faster than your mind, which is not a good thing. So you're going to have to watch this thing faithfully at least 50 times. Also, go in your CDL manual, section 11, and go over that section about what's in the pre-trip. Because if there's something in the pre-trip and I'm not talking about, you need to say, hey, Mr. Bill, how about this? Okay, and then we can talk about that. Because we got to get through the pre-trip before we can do anything else. So, again, inside, we did the air brake check, and we actually had to do it. We said what we were going to do. Step 1, we're going to make sure the air pressure gauge works properly by building up to 120 and cutting off. Then we did that. Step 2, we turned the engine off, but we left the key on. Step 3, we pushed in the red and yellow valve. Step 4, we squeezed the brake pedal for a minute. We didn't lose more than 4 pounds of air. Step 5, we fanned the brakes to 60. The low air warning come on. This would not have happened if when we did step 2, killed the engine, we didn't turn the key back on. And we got to click it all the way to the right. Once you got down to 40, we mentioned that the low air warning come on. So now we want to do step 6, fan the brakes to 20, and the red and yellow valve popped out. Again, 9 times out of 10, they're going to pop out together. Once in a while, one will pop out, and you have to keep pumping the brakes a little bit more to get the other one pumped. And then, like I say, when I just found this out, now step 7, they want to hear you tell them, okay, I'm going to restart the engine, make sure the compressor builds up back up to 120 and cuts out. And then basically, while you're doing that step, you can do all your in-cab. Your heater, your defroster, your wipers and all, that was all done. The horns, the left and right, stuff like that. A few things we didn't have to do, like the windshield, make sure you tell them it's clean, there's no obstructions. Didn't have to really say, we just told them we checked our mirrors are properly adjusted. The glass is clean, not cracked. We told them we had a fully charged, properly rated fire extinguisher. We had 3 reflectorized triangles. We have spare fuses. We told them that our seatbelt was not worn, torn, or frayed, but remember, we actually have to show them that it locks and releases properly. That's important. I'm going to ask my wife now if there's anything she thinks I need to cover. She's shaking her head. I don't think she thinks I did a real good job. But I do believe if you watch this video at least 50 times, it'll get you through this pre-trip. So, again, my name is Bill. I am the CDL instructor for the Drive Rite Driving School. You can call me at 410-925-9644. And that's pretty much it. All I can say is just be careful and drive safely. Cut.